Hey everybody, Dustin DePirac here, calling this Jeremy Price. We are in, I think, the band storage area is where we managed to swing this one in the University of Dayton. It's or University of Dayton Arena. So yeah, just to start, it's every bit as much of a sort of collision of worlds for me as I was expecting with Indiana playing James Madison. I'm sort of just stunned that this even happened. Yeah, like just weird to see both of these teams that I've spent the last 9 years covering playing together. Especially didn't see James Madison making it to this point, considering where I saw those guys. But pretty amazing. Both of these teams have managed to get here. Obviously, Indiana rebuilt itself. James Madison rebuilt itself, and they collide. It's a 116 game, so it's not like they're at the same point, but still interesting stuff. But anyway, it's a little different feel here for Indiana than last year's tournament. Obviously, last year they go all the way out to Portland. It sort of seemed like almost a foreign vacation. I mean, it was jet lag. Hours on a plane. They got here Monday for a Thursday game. Today it's 3 hours away. They came up here yesterday for tomorrow's game, and they seemed, I thought, just pretty relaxed and pretty sort of, I don't know, like it seemed like a business trip this time.
They seem comfortable, which is probably what you would want a team in their position to feel like.
Right.
And I think part of that is obviously with a 116 matchup. Not that they're looking past that, but that's a game that you feel comfortable about, confident that you can kind of work your way into the tournament. Whereas last year, they weren't really sure what they were getting into, and the last thing you want to do is your first trip to the NCAA is lay an egg in the opener.
Right, and they obviously came out fired up, and they made that happen, especially in the first game, and fought through things against VCU, against that press. This one, I mean, I think, like you said, I mean, they've made a point to say, hey, look, you can always get beat. You can get beat by anybody. At some point, someone's going to overlook a 16 seed, and they're going to get beat. They're going to be the first team to do it, and everybody's going to remember that pretty much forever. So they do seem to be locked in correctly. They at least said all the right things I thought about James Madison in terms of just pointing out that there are things that they can do. There are things that do well. There are things that make them a difficult matchup. I guess as much as they're not quite on Indiana's level, they at least have some things they can beat you with.
Yeah, but as much as this is Bizarro World for you, I expect that Bizarro World will not continue to the extent that there's much to worry about.
No, I
come
can't
tomorrow's
imagine
game.
No, I can't imagine there will. It's just to point out who James Madison is, or just what they do, or what they are as a team at this point. They won the CAA. It's the same league VCU was in last year. Of course, the fact that VCU left it made it a lot easier for someone else to go. There was also a few other. That league was one of the premier mid-majors for most of the middle of the 2000s, from about 04, really until about last year. Some other teams fell off. Old Dominion, George Mason. When George Mason lost, Jim Larinaga left to go coach Miami. That made it a little bit more difficult for them. Also, Old Dominion really fell off. So it was the window opened up and the league fell back a little bit. So James Madison is not quite the sort of scary mid-major that the Colonial has produced really in recent years. But they, I think, finished 20-13 now, 19-13, I think is what it is.
20 and something.
They rallied back. I think it's 20-13. They rallied back. They didn't really start well. I think they were 1-5. Got beat by most of the major league teams. They played UCLA, beat them pretty handily. But they kind of put together a small lineup, and that's really, I think, what makes them the most interesting. They go, basically their entire lineup stands within the range of 6'4" to 6'6". Literally their entire starting lineup is within that 3-inch range. Basically they've got a point guard in Devon Moore, fifth-year senior, who's been through a lot of stuff. Actually, he was kind of on Matt Brady's first team, last team that I covered. And, he's been through a lot of injuries. Also, he's going through something with his mom right now. His mother's dealing with brain cancer, actually. But he's fought through, kind of kept his head somehow through that. I can't imagine how. But, been sort of the steady leading point guard on this team. They've got a lot of other guys that are awesome. Pretty rangy athletes, guys that sort of get after it. They play small, they play quick, they play fast, and they defend really well. Did you get a look at them all last night?
I did get a look a little bit at them in that game, but it's a far cry, Indiana to LIU. But
There's
LIU is able.
Behind me right now. This is actually happening. We're really good at
timing's everything.
Everything. Spectacular. It is freezing here right now. Anyway,
but I think the real question is, can James Madison slow Indiana's transition game? Mm-hmm. And even if they slow it, is that enough to even keep it close? Because
probably not. Yeah.
Especially especially when you're talking to Cody Zeller, this is where his ability to run the floor really shines against a team like this, that they're just not, as much as they say they're ready and they prepare, they're just not ready for the pace at which Indiana is going to push the ball and the quickness with which a guy like Zeller is going to get from rim to rim.
No, exactly. I mean, they were able to do it with LIU Brooklyn. LIU Brooklyn plays very, very fast as well. They're fifth in the league, fifth in Division I in scoring. But those kind of athletes, you can slow them down if you're James Madison. Indiana's not the type that you can. You mentioned Zeller. Obviously, that's where Indiana's got the matchup really kind of shows itself. Rayshawn Goins is their center. He was the guy who sat out the first half after being arrested for disorderly conduct and obstruction of justice following a campus party last week. He's 6'6", he's 265. He's playing really well, got great feet. He's really coordinated, probably fast for somebody his size. But, I'm taking Zeller over a guy that's 265 any day of the week. I just am. I mean, the guy's 6'6", 265. That's, that's a defensive end. That's not a defensive end. That's closer to a defensive tackle. I mean, if he puts that's what a guy that's built like that is supposed to be. That guy's not. He's the center. He's really, again, really good player. But Zeller can outrun just about anybody, and you got to figure somebody with that size. He's also got 6 inches on him. I mean, that's where the big mismatch is, I think.
And on top of that, I mean, you're looking at the 4 spot. You've got Christian Watford at 6'9". He's going to have 4 inches probably on just about anybody they stick in there on him. So, he can take him down in the post. And from the pregame press conferences, it sounded like the plan was more or less they were going to double, maybe triple, whatever, in the post, regardless of who it is, and take that away. And pretty much, if Indiana can hit any modicum of outside shots in the half court.
And having watched practice today, I think they can. I think not only they can, I think they will. The backdrop is nice. I mean, that's one thing we talked about a lot last week with the United Center, and I think a lot of reasons why nobody shot particularly well in that game is, the NBA arenas are difficult to adjust to when you're used to sort of tighter college arenas, something like Assembly Hall, where you have the bleachers basically right behind the bucket, and there's not a lot of distance in between. It's tougher to get a gauge on depth, I guess. Just sort of like naturally just plays with your eyes when you've got that deeper bucket, or the deeper, sort of end zone seats, I guess. It plays with your eyes. It plays with your mind a little bit, and I think that's kind of, at least partially, an explanation why Jordan Holtz was 2 for 14 last week. Dayton's very tight. I would say even probably just tighter than Assembly Hall. It just frames, I think, well. And Jordy was ripping it in practice. I mean, just absolutely just hitting everything he put up. And I think that's going to be, for Halls especially, I think it's going to do a lot for his confidence. He certainly was asked a lot today about, what's wrong with your shot? How are you dealing with that? How many hours have you spent in Cook Hall since Saturday? I think this one sets up pretty nice for him. I think he's got a chance to go off in this game.
It does. I haven't had my open practice yet, but my sense is that this is a very cozy. It's a very cozy setup, especially on the ends. The sight lines are really nice. It just looks like a comfortable shooting environment, which I think is definitely going to be beneficial for a guy like Halls. And really, I mean, how often have we seen, if Jordy has a bad game or two, then he bounces back and starts putting it together real quick.
Wisconsin was the first time where he had the back-to-back bad games, I think. I mean, he's had some bad ones. There was, I think, the 0 for 10 against Iowa. There's a couple other bad ones in there, but I mean, I think this was kind of the first time he strung 2 together. Usually, if he strings even 2 average ones together, he's got a blow-up game coming. You can't hold him down for that long. He's too good of a shooter not to make shots. And I think you'll see that. Obviously, I think Watford can do the same thing. That sets them up real nice. If they can get shooting, if they can hit threes, and take advantage of whatever double team's always going to deal with, that helps a lot. I'm going to turn this off just because we're dealing with a forklift here. I hope you can hear anything we said. Hopefully you got something out of it. But real quick, before we go to this, got to say congratulations to our old great friend Chris Corman. He is a new dad today. His son Charlie was born, I think Wednesday. No, Tuesday? Tuesday, I think it was. Anyway, so congratulations to him. If those of you guys know him on Facebook, Twitter, hit him up. He's kind of on cloud 9 right now. So anyway, thanks guys.